Okay, class. So in the previous lecture, we discussed about the components of translation, right? And those components, how they react to each other, the affinity, right? So I hope that you viewed both of the videos and you've already gained some understanding. So today I'll be not discussing about the interaction, rather I'll be going in detail. Okay, so again, this is a comparative study of initiation of translation between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Okay, so one thing what I like to tell is that in prokaryotes as well as in eukaryotes, the first step of activation of amino acid as well as charging of tRNA is same. Okay, only the difference being is that in eukaryotes the first amino acid which is carried by first tRNA is methionine, while in case of prokaryotes it is formilated methionine. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, activation of amino acid. Basically, activation of amino acid means that amino acid is treated with ATP. Okay, so this is the structure of ATP, and this amino group will be transferred to the adenosine monophosphate. So this is the enzyme adenosine transferase will transfer the amino acid. Okay, and then will have activated amino acid. So this is our activated amino acid. In this process, pyrophosphate is released, and this breakage of the bond actually releases an energy, and that energy catalyzes the reaction. Okay, so once we have activated amino acid, now we know the fate of this activated amino acid is to go and lodge on tRNA, right? So let's just see here. This is our activated amino acid. Okay, now this will be transferred to the very first tRNA which has anti-start codon, right? And so this will be loaded on OH group. This is in the 3' end of tRNA. So what happens? Amino acyl tRNA synthetase. So basically you see amino acyl is being transferred to tRNA. Okay, and thus amino acyl tRNA is formed, that means synthetase. And whenever there is an enzyme synthetase, ATP is utilized. Thus we have amino acyl tRNA, and lodging the amino acid over tRNA is actually called charging of tRNA. So this is our activated tRNA. But you see in prokaryotes, one step further you have to go, that is that amino acid, usually if we see the first amino acid, this will be methionine, right? So this amino acyl tRNA which carries amino acid, let's say it is methionine, this methionine needs to be formilated. Therefore, we have an enzyme called, not us, bacteria or prokaryotes, they have an enzyme called tetrahydrofolate transferase which transfer the formal group, okay, to the tRNA, and thus this is the formal group. Okay, or in a very easy way, we can just look at this structure. This is tRNA with F mate. Okay, so this is how we charge our tRNA. Now coming to the third step, formation of pre-initiation complex, and again same thing in eukaryotes. Third step is formation of pre-initiation complex. Okay, so just look at here. See, in order to form pre-initiation complex, first of all, this ribosome, which have already translated certain mRNA, needs to be recycled. That means these needs to be dissociated. Okay, so once these are dissociated, then again these are recycled. That means they will be reused for the translation. So this is small subunit here, which is 30S. You can see here, and in the previous study we discussed, right, what happens. So see, this E site and A site is blocked because of these initiation factors. I have discussed this in the previous video in affinity and understanding of components, so it's better if you watch that videos. So therefore, these initiation factors block these two sites, and the only available site is P. So the activated tRNA, okay, will come and reside in P site. Now, see, this tRNA has formilated methionine, tRNA, as well as along with it comes 2-GTP. This is initiation factor 2. Okay, so how many components are there? 1, 2, 3. Therefore, it is called ternary complex. So whenever you have a ternary complex and sitting over this small subunit of ribosome, this ternary complex acts as a marker of pre-initiation complex. So So this is how pre-initiation complex is formed. If you look at in the eukaryote side, the same thing. Okay, there was 70S, now we have here 80S. This will be dissociated with initiation factor 3 and 1A, like I've already mentioned in my previous study, previous video. And in a similar way, what happens is that your tRNA carrying methionine is will rest on the P side, and again methionine, tRNA, GTP, these are ternary complex, and this marks your pre-initiation complex. Only main difference is that there we called it, still we called it 30S ribosomal subunit. Here we will be calling it 43S initiation complex. Okay. Now let's come to the fourth step. So what happens to this pre-initiation complex? Okay. Now see, this pre-initiation complex now reacts with your mRNA. Okay. So this is our mRNA. I mean, in the prokaryotes, this is the mRNA. In my previous study, I have said what is the role of STS in start codon and their affinity with the pre-initiation complex, right? So what happens is that in this pre-initiation complex, now mRNA will come and reside. Basically, mRNA recruits this pre-initiation complex and reside. So it is the cytokine sequence in mRNA which makes a complementary base with the RNA which is present in the ribosomal subunit, that is anti-cytokine sequence. And so this is how basically they scan to find a start codon. Okay, and once this is all done, now what happens? We know that the large subunit has affinity for this small subunit, right? So finally, what happens is that the initiation factors like 3 and 2 are removed. As they are removed, now the large subunit will come and cap or will sit over the small subunit, and that reaction is catalyzed by hydrolysis of 2-GTP, right? And as a result, it converts into 2-GTP, and that energy catalyzes to prepare 7-TS initiation complex in bacteria or in prokaryotes. While one step is different in eukaryotes, that is, this 43S initiation complex has to further convert into 40S initiation complex, and that is, see, this pre-initiation complex will be incorporated or basically will be recruited by the mRNA of eukaryotes. Okay? So, what does this mean is that this mRNA which is synthesized needs to go further, further maturation or further modification. That is basically because the sequences of mRNA which has Kojak consensus sequences start codon and also has a lot of nucleotide base which can actually base pair with itself and form a secondary structure. So in order to remove that secondary structure or in order to reduce the complexity of the mRNA, the initiation factor like eukaryotic initiation factor like 4A, which is actually a ATP dependent RNA helicase, that means it has activity of helicase, which with the help of ATP will break down the base pairing and make a long mRNA. Okay, and this will be simulated or promoted by elongation factor B. Okay, and not only this, our polyA tail, which is 3' end, which is at the 3' end, will bend and make a pseudo-circular structure to interact with 5' cap, and this basically is catalyzed or basically is initiated by eukaryotic initiation factor G, which is also called multifunctional adapter. Okay, while this 5' cap is first interacted by 4E. So this basically interacts with the 5' cap. Okay, we know what is the function of 4A, which is ATP dependent RNA helicase, and 4G is helping both the ends of mRNA to come close and make a pseudocircular structure. This 4A, 4C and 4E all together form a complex called eukaryotic initiation factor 4F. Okay, so this is how our mRNA needs to first make a pseudocircular structure, and once this is done, this will then recruit the pre-initiation complex. Here you can see pre-initiation complex is recruited, but what you can observe here is that although our methionine has seated in the P site, and we know these sites are still blocked, right? So you can see that anti-Kojak sequence is way far from the Kojak consensus sequence which is in the mRNA. while start codon is here, and we know this is the start anti-start codon of tRNA. So what happens is that this poly A tail binding protein along with tail will help to bring this ribosomal subunit ahead. It brings it. If this is, let's say, the small ribosomal subunit, poly A tail will bring it forwards, so that the anti Kojak consensus sequence in this ribosomal subunit will come forward. And let's say if this is the mRNA, here is the sequence of Kojak consensus sequence, this will bring it forward until there is a base pairing between Kojak consensus sequence and anti-Kojak consensus sequence and Kojak consensus sequence. Okay, so this by far, when they will come and they will base pair exactly like here. Okay, Kojak consensus sequence with anti-Kojak consensus sequence, and this anti-start codon of tRNA is base pairing with the start codon. So this now is actually 48S complex, which is different, right? Which is not present in our prokaryotes. And so this action was actually regulated by our this 3' end and 5' cap. Therefore, this is called synergetic action. And ultimately, what happens is that now once this 48S initiation complex is formed, this is 48S initiation complex. Once this is formed, now what happens is that the large subunit will come over and try to sit in the small subunit, and that will be helped by eukaryotic initiation factor 5. Okay, so this will hydrolyze the GTP of eukaryotic initiation factor 2. As a result, all these factors like 1A, 3 and 2 are removed. Okay, and the large subunit will sit over in the small ribosomal subunit. Okay, so this is how the initiation complex in case of eukaryote is formed, which is 80S. So this was the initiation of